Awesome, thank you. So today we'll start out with a brief introduction of who Zone & Co is. I'll talk a little bit about the ZoneBilling product specifically, and then we'll move into our demo portion. So effectively at Zone & Co, our mission really is to enhance the NetSuite experience and the NetSuite platform by bringing suite apps to finance teams and the office of the CFO and really bring that joy to their lives. Ever since we launched in 2012, we've been a consultancy focused on answering problems, especially in finance and in billing for our customers. And that led us to really building out one of the flagship products that we're going to talk about today, which is ZoneBilling in 2018. We became Solution Developer Network certified, and from there built out and launched our Zone Apps platform with a collection of people that were NetSuite consultants, accountants, NetSuite alumni like myself and Johnny, and developers to help launch our Zone Apps platform. So we can enhance NetSuite with all of these different Zone Apps and really help out on the AR, AP, reporting and analytics side, all within the office of the CFO. But today our goal is to talk about ZoneBilling and really expand on how we can enhance the NetSuite platform to bring more complex billing and more automated billing into your ERP and thus connect to your financials. So effectively, what is ZoneBilling, right? We're a built for NetSuite product, as I mentioned before, part of that Suite Cloud Developer Network, and we're built right into NetSuite. So it's a seamless fit and feel without having to go elsewhere to log in and subject to the same security that your current NetSuite instance has. You can also see here that we can take advantage of NetSuite's open APIs. So we can pull information from outside systems like Salesforce CPQ or other CRM. We can pull from proprietary platforms, and this really helps out in certain verticals like in telecom or in utilities where there may be some outside information to be pulled in. And this is how we can accomplish all different types of billing models, especially things like complex usage. As a part of the Suite Cloud Developer Network as well, that means we have to stay certified and up to date. So with NetSuite and the upgrades that it receives each year, we also need to make sure that our product works with those upgrades and updates. So there's less IT focus and IT spend, making sure that everything is up and running while utilizing an SDN and built for NetSuite product like ZoneBilling. And effectively, we like to say that any way you bill, we can bill too. Down below, you can see a whole host of different billing models and methods. All of these have been implemented before. This is what we do for our customers, right? Across all different vertical spaces. We have customers that are in services, that are in product, IoT, hardware and devices, all the way through SaaS. But the one thing that they have in common is that they all have different complex billing usage and use cases that Zone can answer for. And that's where I'll hand it over to Johnny. What we'll do is we'll expand on some of these and show you an overview demo of how we accomplish all of this within Zone. I'll stop my sharing and I'll hand it over to you, Johnny.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
No problem.
Pull up my screen here. Okay, let me know, Kevin, can you see my instance of NetSuite?
All good, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, hi everyone. Good to meet you all. I'm going to be walking us through a brief demonstration of the software. And as you'll notice, I'm starting in NetSuite because Zone itself is native to NetSuite. We are built directly inside of NetSuite to unify your billing with your collections, your revenue, your general ledger, all of your reporting needs, and the rest of your finance activities. All of that now lives on a single platform with Zone. And as you can see here, as I am on my home dashboard, some of the information that is relevant to your invoicing can now be pulled onto and visualized on your dashboard as these are configurable to your specific needs. So whether it is certain reminders related to your invoicing that are important to you, maybe visualizing your billing forecast in a variety of ways. Here we can see a couple examples. in aggregate or broken out by customer over the various periods. We can pull that information from our subscription record and give you visibility into what billings you may be expecting. We also have an example here where maybe some of your customers prepay for services and draw down against those. We can even capture that information here, whether it's looking at what is their total prepaid versus the remaining balance, what percentage have they consumed, so that maybe we can sell them an additional bucket. Again, just an example, but point being is that because Zone lives 100% within the walls of NetSuite, all of the data that you're capturing in that billing process is available to be reported on and even visualized on dashboards as such. Now, where do we really get into the functionality that Zone is adding to your NetSuite instance? I can see that as we come and look at a customer record. So depending on your NetSuite deployment, you might have a variety of sub-tabs with information down here related to this given customer. But one that might be new as you deploy ZoneBilling in your NetSuite instance is this subscriptions tab. So these subscriptions are core to what ZoneBilling does and allows you to manage essentially your various contracts with your customers. So I've set up an example for us that we'll walk through here today. On this customer record, we might just have a single contract with the customer. We might have many, but we'll walk through a couple examples today. So here I am on our subscription record. This subscription record, as I mentioned, is very core to what Zone does. We're effectively replacing the functionality of a traditional sales order with our subscription record to allow subscription type businesses to manage the entire customer life cycle from initial purchase to upsells, downsells, cancellations, or renewals. All of that functionality throughout the term of the contract can be driven from this single subscription record. And as the customer's contract evolves throughout the term, this subscription record will reflect any and all changes, giving you an accurate view of your relationship with this customer at any given time. It's a single source of truth for everything related to this customer's contract, including what items have been purchased, what has been or will be invoiced to this customer, what revenue is planned for this contract, and potentially how we want to handle renewals. This subscription record really is the one source of truth that allows us to drive all of the functionality we may need related to this given contract. Another important call out on this subscription record is it's typically populated entirely by the quote. So whether you're quoting within NetSuite or another platform, our subscription record absorbs the information you agreed to with your customer so that you can bill in whatever way you sold to your customer. You can easily connect via API to any outside quoting tool, including Salesforce CPQ, or even any proprietary platform. And as soon as that quote is approved by the customer, that information will feed into Zone and populate a subscription record just like we're viewing right now. From there, the billing engine will be able to fully automate your invoicing. However, today I'm going to take you under the hood to explain how this all works. So we'll start off by calling out the customer. I have a customer identified here and the appropriate term. So I have a 1-year contract for this given subscription. And as we look down below, I have a variety of items that I've agreed to with the customer. You can see one of them is a one-time fee, one is more of a subscription-based license, and one is a usage-based item. So with ZoneBilling, no matter what types of various products you may sell, ZoneBilling has the flexibility to accommodate your needs. So let's dive into each one individually. Like I mentioned, kind of taking you under the hood here to explain how each one works. The one-time fee we'll start with probably the most simple example. A lot to look at, but what's really key here is our rate type being a one-time charge and our charge schedule. So each item on this subscription can have its own billing cadence. Some might be a single charge, some might be recurring on various cadences. We'll see that as we walk through the demonstration. But here we can also see what price we agreed to with the customer. So we're going to bill them $700 up front for this given item. As I look down below, we can see that charge has been pulled onto an invoice already because this contract is active. The system knew to go ahead and trigger this $700 charge and pull it onto an invoice, which we'll take a look at in a moment. Pretty straightforward with the one-time fee. So now let's move on to maybe a fixed recurring type charge. So here I have a subscription license. This could be, any product that you invoice your customer on a recurring basis. Now you'll notice the start and end date. Again, I have a full year term for this product. The rate type, the system has identified that we agreed to terms with the customer to bill them a fixed recurring amount. What pricing have we agreed to? We can see here. So this customer agreed to a quantity of 5 at $100 a month for this license. And although it's priced monthly, we might bill it quarterly or annual or any other cadence that your business might require. These are quite flexible and can set up to accommodate any variety of needs. So as we look at the charges for this specific product, rather than a single charge, you'll notice we have 4 lines down here. So this is the system forecasting our charges because it is on a fixed recurring basis. The system knows based on our cadence that we're going to send an invoice on a quarterly basis. So here we can see the first quarter has also been pulled onto an invoice for us. We can see the quantity being multiplied by the number of months that are relevant to this period and resulting at a $1,500 charge for this specific item. Again, the system has pulled this onto that initial invoice because we told the system we want to bill this upfront on a quarterly basis. And moving forward, as we look at this bill date on the far right here, the system knows on each given quarterly date to pull one of these charges onto an invoice. So this bill date is really key to the automation that Zone can provide you. Because of that cadence we agreed to on these given bill dates, the system is going to automatically generate an invoice for us with that item on it. And if there are additional items with those same bill dates, the same cadence, those two will be pulled onto the same invoice. So that's our fixed recurring example. Now let's take a peek at a usage-based item. So usage-based items, we probably agree to pricing, but we aren't going to bill them up front until they consume against a product. We have a variety of ways that we can accommodate different usage-based models. I'm going to walk us through a simple example here today, but know that ZoneBilling has the ability to accommodate any variety of needs you may have, especially as it relates to complex usage. So this product itself, we can see a different rate type. So now we're going to be billing a variable amount based on the customer's consumption. We are going to do so on a monthly basis. In this example, you can see that the bill in arrears checkbox is checked because we need to bring that usage data into the system before we can bill the customer for it. Finally, something that can be unique to usage data is rather than having a set price, maybe we have some tiers involved in how we price this usage. So I have a price book set up. If you use CPQ, this is synonymous to the consumption schedule on that side, but essentially we're telling the system at different quantities, the price might change. So here down below, I can see that from a quantity of 0 to 20, they have a per unit price of 10. And then as the quantity in a given period increases, that per unit price may decrease, right? These price books can be set up any number of ways. Again, a simple example, but allows you the ability to automatically select the appropriate price in a given period for this consumption data. Now, how does that consumption data typically get into the system? Well, today I've just entered it manually, but in practice, our customers typically bring it in one of two ways. Either a CSV file upload at the end of the period or throughout the period, or they just build a direct connection using our APIs to whatever software or whatever database that usage data lives in. That way the usage data can flow in freely and your customers can be invoiced accordingly. So I've gone ahead and brought in some usage. If I look down below here on this subscription item, so this again represents the item that I've contracted with this specific customer, and I look at their usage data, I can see in the month of January, we brought in their usage at a quantity of 25. So if we remember, the price might have changed once they got above a quantity of 20, and the system has read that quantity and generated a charge for us. So here we can see these essentially act as buckets of usage. So we can bring in usage many times throughout the month, or we can bring it in just once at the end like I've done. But each month has its own bucket. We brought in the quantity of 25 that we can see here. And because of that price book that we just looked at, the system knows that the per unit price for that quantity is 9 per, resulting in a charge of $225 for the month of January. But again, with usage, we're likely billing it in arrears. And so although that is the usage for January, we can see that the bill date for that period is February 1st. So we'll see that populate onto the February 1st invoice for this customer, which we'll take a look at here in a little bit. So now coming back to the subscription itself, I want to talk about how these invoices are generated. So we saw the bill dates associated with each given item, and that will drive the automatic creation of an invoice for those specific items. But how does that actually take place? So Zone has an automated process that looks across your customer base on a recurring basis to identify if any charges need to be pulled onto an invoice that day. Like I mentioned, I already kicked this off manually. And so I'll take a peek at that invoice right now. So this invoice was generated by the system. We can see it has a number of products on it. And something else that I wanted to show that Zone has the ability to manage is the concept of parent-child relationships. So this invoice has already been generated. It might contain not only information for a single subscription, but perhaps we have some level of parent-child relationships in our customer base and want to actually consolidate across several subscriptions. What we've done here today is pulled multiple subscriptions onto a single invoice. And so if we actually look at the subscription itself, we can see that this subscription is with a child of one of our larger customers. It's with their New Orleans branch. However, maybe I want to roll this up and consolidate the different branches to the parent level. I can do so on our customer hierarchy tab of the subscription by identifying who I want the bill to customer to be. So here, although it's contracted with a specific branch, I am going to bill it to the parent level. And furthermore, I'm going to consolidate the billing. So what this means is if there are multiple children or multiple customers that roll up to the same bill to customer, in this case, the parent, I want to actually consolidate those and send one single invoice. And so that's what we've done here today. And furthermore, ZoneBilling also has the ability to dictate what formatting is applied during that consolidation. So we have what is called a billing profile. This allows us to add subtotals, add headers, break out our items or consolidate them. Really gives us flexibility in terms of how these various invoices are composed. So now that I've explained that, if we come back to the invoice, it'll make a little more sense. I have multiple subscriptions, one with our New Orleans branch and one with our Denver branch. And both are being pulled on to this single invoice. So as we take a look, something else that's important to call out is this invoice is a native NetSuite invoice. Zone helps drive the calculation and the generation of these invoices. But once this invoice is generated, it is a native NetSuite invoice, allowing us to plug in our tax engine just like we normally would, allowing us to run collections just like we normally would. And here we see, a generic invoice example. These PDFs are completely configurable to your needs, but we can see here that we have the invoice going to the parent corporation. We can see the totals for our two different branches of this larger customer, and really have the ability to format this invoice any way we want, but managing that parent-child relationship in an automated fashion. Now that this first invoice has gone out the door, let's talk about what happens when we have a subsequent change to a subscription. So I have an example here, similar to the subscription that we were just looking at, that has had a change order come through. So we can see down below, our various items that the customer started with, all starting on January 1st. As we saw in that invoice, those have already been, initially invoiced to the customer. However, subsequently, maybe they added an additional product 1 month in. So we can see start date of February 1st for this product. Again, this subscription record allows us to manage these changes, absorb these changes from your sales team, and drive the appropriate billing and revenue recognition downstream. So as we look to generate the February 1st invoice, we will see this item be pulled on. And something that is important to call out as we look at this specific additional item. So this represents an upsell. Certainly we can accommodate downsells, cross-sells, product swaps, cancellations, any type of change order. But something that's important to call out is the system is automatically co-terming and prorating so that the customer can renew everything at the same time. They're receiving invoices all on a smooth cadence. So although they signed up February 1st, we want to co-term that. And so there is some proration being applied here. I can see that this item, I quoted the customer $1,200 a year, but because they're signing up February 1st, we have some proration happening here, and we're resulting at a list rate of $1,100. They signed up for 4 licenses, giving us a total amount of $4,400. So this type of co-termination and proration is native to Zone. It can be driven from your quoting tool and absorbed by us, or driven from the Zone product itself. But again, allows you to invoice your customers the proper amount at the proper time. So let's actually walk through how these invoices get generated. As I mentioned, ZoneBilling has a process that looks across your entire customer base and identifies when there are any charges that need to be pulled onto an invoice. Today, I'll manually kick this off to help you visualize what that automation is actually doing in the background. So based on what we quoted the customer, the system knows when to invoice various products for us. And as you can see, that schedule is represented here. Now I'm just looking at the plan charges for this single subscription, but imagine this list including all the items you've sold to your entire customer base. Our automation will read that list and generate the appropriate charges on the appropriate day. So I'll go ahead and kick this one off for us here. This is our February 1st invoice. As we mentioned, the system had already generated the initial invoice, and now maybe we have some usage data as well as some other recurring charges, maybe even that additional upsell charge on that February 1st bill date. So with a process like this, now you can be sure that your customers are receiving accurate, timely invoices while freeing up your AR staff to focus on more value-added activities. And as you can see here, this bill date is planned out into the future. So on each one of these future dates, the system is going to identify that there are charges that need to be pulled onto an invoice and do so for us. Again, just wanted to manually kick that off for us today. Let's see if the invoice has been generated. It's going to take just one moment while the system processes that. But again, this process would happen in the background. Some customers schedule this invoice generation and automation process to happen a few times a day. Others, maybe every 30 minutes, just depends on your volumes and what makes the most sense for your organization. We'll refresh this and see if that invoice has come through, and it has. So as we mentioned earlier, we have a variety of products. Some of them are just simply a one-time charge. Others may be on a recurring basis or a usage basis. And then we subsequently have, additional upsell items. So all of these are going to be taken into consideration, on a recurring basis as these invoices are generated. And I'll go ahead and open up that February 1st invoice for us to take a look at. So again,
Johnny?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Before you keep going, I did receive a quick question here. There may be a few, so let me just read this out to you if you don't mind. The ask is, can you speak to the minimum charge field that was just seen? Does that true up the customers to a specific dollar amount?
Yes, exactly. So that minimum charge field is an option for our customers who, have that requirement where maybe you sell a consumption-based product, and if your customer doesn't consume up to that minimum threshold, you're going to true them up and invoice them at least that minimum amount in the given period. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But depending on your needs there, that minimum charge field can be quite flexible to drive that sort of true up functionality that you're referring to.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Kevin, or just that one?
No, just that one for now.
Okay. So as we saw the initial invoice go out the door, here is our February 1st invoice. So a couple of things to call out that are different than that first invoice we saw is that on our February 1st invoice, we can see that we had usage in the quantity of 60 come over for January. This other location also had some usage in January in the quantity of 25. So those charges, like we saw, are being billed in arrears. However, for that upsell item, it is clearly co-terminated and prorated for that customer. What would have been $1,200 a year is now $1,100 a year, just like we talked about. And furthermore, we're subtotaling by branch, but billing to the parent. So again, this is one way that you can manage these parent-child relationships. Certainly a lot of flexibility in how we can accommodate various needs there. But point being is that, again, the automation is pulling the appropriate charges onto an invoice at the appropriate time, freeing up our AR staff to focus on more value-added activities. So that is an example of the automation that ZoneBilling can provide to your customers. I think that is everything that I had prepared for today. You know, if you'd like to see more, certainly reach out. We'd be happy to give you a more tailored demonstration based on your specific needs. But hopefully you were able to see some of the value that ZoneBilling can provide. And I just want to wrap things up here with a few key takeaways about why ZoneBilling is so important to our customers. So first of all, the subscription record. As we mentioned, this is core to what Zone provides and allows our customers to manage their entire life cycle of their customers, from initial purchase, upsells, downsells, etc. So not only driving the appropriate billing, but driving the appropriate revenue recognition downstream from that subscription as well. Secondly, as you saw, ZoneBilling is native to NetSuite. Everything that we walked through today looks and feels just like everything else does in NetSuite, meaning no learning curve for the system. All of your NetSuite users are going to be able to operate the system seamlessly. And meanwhile, it's going to unify your billing with the rest of your finance activities. Another key takeaway is that we are designed to work with your systems that you have in place. Our customers use a variety of quoting tools to feed into Zone. We have open APIs that allow you to tie into whatever quoting platform you may be using, whether that's CPQ in Salesforce or a proprietary platform even. Finally, any pricing or billing structure can be accommodated by Zone. So we saw some simple examples today, but based on your needs and the complexities that your business may have, Zone can be configured and really meet the needs of a variety of use cases in a variety of industries. And finally, the revenue automation that Zone can provide. We work seamlessly with the advanced revenue management module in NetSuite so that revenue recognition can be managed in an automated fashion downstream, again, driven from the subscription record, but giving you that full end-to-end automation that you're looking for. So from quote, not only quote to cash, but even quote to revenue, that whole entire business process can live on the NetSuite platform and be automated with a tool like ZoneBilling. So that's everything that I had. I appreciate everyone's time today. If there are any additional questions, feel free to send those in the chat and we can answer those now.
Yeah, we do have two in there already. So let me just start. One came in actually right before you swapped to this slide, but they asked about bundles. So they sell bundles. Is there a way to merge multiple items onto one line item for a customer on the invoice? That's question number one.
Yes, absolutely. So you'll probably want, I would imagine, to represent those multiple lines internally as independent lines for revenue recognition purposes, maybe fulfillment purposes, whatever that may be. But certainly those can be presented as a single line or a single bundle SKU to your customer on the invoice.
Thank you. And then the other question that came in is, we talked about prepaids on the first screen. Is it possible to automate revenue recognition for that? How does that work?
It absolutely is. So some of our customers have different needs there. Some collect that prepayment and just spread the revenue evenly over the term. Some want to defer that revenue and actually recognize it as it's consumed. Either is achievable. But yeah, certainly with the prepaid business model, not only can we accommodate the billing, but in tandem with the revenue management module of NetSuite, we can also automate the revenue recognition for those prepaids as well.
Great. I'll give it one more minute here just for any questions that may roll in. But other than that, we do appreciate your time today. we'll have a recording of this available as well that we can follow through with. Okay. Looks like there's no other questions rolling in. Actually, one more.
Yeah.
Sorry, Johnny, one more just came in. Is there a way to bill a certain line item to one company and the rest to a parent that are on the same subscription? So 2 invoices from one subscription.
Yep. Yeah, great question. So I showed it mostly at the subscription level, that bill to customer, but certainly you can identify the bill to customer at the line level itself. So maybe 8 products are billing to a certain customer, but 1 product you want to split it out, send it to a separate customer. Certainly doable. At the line level itself.
Awesome. Thank you for the clarification, Johnny. And again, thank you all for your time and your attendance today. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us either through LinkedIn or the registration link itself. There are contact ways there. So thanks very much.
Thank you.